Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here. Man, have we got a great episode coming up. Dr. Steve Cole is next on Music on the Run. Yeah.
Before we get started here, do me a favor. Wherever you got this podcast, make sure you subscribe, give us a rating, and if you have time and like what you're hearing, make sure you write a review. It really helps us get the word out so we can have a lot more people coming to the party. Hey everybody, I'm St. Paul Peterson. Prince gave me that nickname, and I've been lucky enough to tour with people like the Steve Miller Band, Kenny Loggins, Peter Frampton, Donny Osmond, to name a few. And when I'm not playing music, I love to run. And this is a podcast about how we stay healthy on the road, physically, mentally, and with our families. Welcome to Music on the Run. Hey everybody, St. Paul Peterson here, and welcome to episode 58 of Music on the Run. Yeah, it's been a month and a half since I've done, maybe 2 months. Is that what it's been since I did a podcast? June was just a little crazy. I put out a brand new record, so did that. Did a couple of gigs, one in LA and one here in Minneapolis, but if you haven't gotten the record, go get Break On Free by St. Paul Peterson. Am I sponsoring my own podcast now?
Yep.
That's basically what I'm doing. So that's why I didn't get a podcast. So the last one we did was with members of Earth, Wind, and Fire. And today, we're going to have a great time with a good buddy of mine. He's been signed to major labels since 1998. Has sold hundreds of thousands of records, or so the bio says.
Tens and tens of records.
Tens of records.
Tens and tens of records, man.
And more importantly, has hundreds of thousands of streams, and I do want to talk to you about that. And he's the head of music industry studies and a teaching fellow in the Schultz School of Entrepreneurship. You know, I can't even pronounce it. You're laughing. Yeah.
Well, I know, because I love the words that you invent. I'm making a whole book.
I went through his bio and I'm like, I can't pronounce that. Okay,
I made it purposefully difficult for you. Just strung together syllables that are meaningless.
Do you like that? Did I say it correctly that time? At the University of St. Thomas, please welcome Dr. Steve Cole.
Hello.
Hi, thank you. Hi, brother man. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Now, so first of all, I have a point of order here. So the last podcast you do is with Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then it's me.
Yeah.
That's like following a guitar solo. It's like it's Earth, Wind, and Fire, and then Steve Cole.
No. Oh, I beg to differ.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think we're going to have some fun today.
You're
familiar with this room?
I am familiar with this room. I've spent many days and nights in this room.
Yeah.
Made records in this room. By
the way, for those of you who are not watching this, we are sitting at Creation Audio. We're actually doing an in-person video podcast. Will you help me, Davide, for crying out loud? I'm always on my own. We're doing an in-person podcast today with Mr. Doctor. Mr.
Doctor is fine. Or Dr. Mister.
May I call you Mr. Doctor?
You can call me Mr. Doctor Mister.
Mr. Doctor. Can I Doctor? No, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we are at Creation Audio here in downtown Minneapolis, and actually, I took your spot in this room.
I took your spot in this room.
That's true. So we kind of swapped spots,
right,
Mr. Doctor?
You were out. I was home. I was out. You were home, and then I just no one ever invited me back. So.
You're always welcome to come back here.
I know, you guys are awesome.
So what records did you make in this room? You remember?
Oh gosh, yeah, I made my my Pulse record in this room, which is a few records ago. I made.
I played on one of them.
Yeah, that one.
Was it that one?
And I think Turn It Up I made in here. And
okay.
Yeah. Tons and tons. Played a lot of saxophone playing went on in that little room over there behind the glass. Great place, great energy. Made some of the best music in my life in here.
Yeah. You got a brand new record that just came out.
I do, and it did. Well, it's newish.
Okay,
it's just about a year old.
That's new enough.
That's new enough. Yeah.
So.
It's called Smoke and Mirrors, and it's my 10th solo release. Yeah.
You've been on a lot of major labels.
I have. I've been on almost every one of them.
I know that one.
Started out with Atlantic Records and then got traded to Warner Brothers.
It's like professional baseball.
A little bit. It's just all the same family, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And then I was on EMI, Blue Note, and then so I guess Sony was the only one I've never been on.
Let's work on that.
No, it's okay. I'm good. I'm good where I am. And now I'm on a fabulous label called Mac Avenue, which is a independent label, but has major label talent, which is really, really phenomenal in terms of who runs it and the management of that label, and also the artists. Other than myself, I'm honored to be on the same roster with people like Christian McBride and and Macy Gray and Jonathan Butler and Kevin Eubanks, the Yellow Jackets. So I'm in really good company. They don't actually invite me anywhere. I'm actually never in company with them, but like on a website,
you are listed on the
list
website
together.
Right.
So,
alphabetical order, or are you down the list?
Well, C.
You are alphabetical.
Yeah. Right. Well, I don't know. It all depends. It could have changed.
Is there still an advantage to actually being on a label?
Well, there's no advantage to being on a label for the sake of being on a label, right? It's like anything else. I mean, these days you don't have to be on one.
Anybody can put out a record.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can find an audience on your own, if you can build a community, if you can, if you have great music that you can create a proposition of value around, right?
Yeah.
And get people interested not only in your music, but also in, who you are, what you are, your creative process, you may not need a label for a very, very long time. I think that the reason people, need labels at some point in their career is that they either decide that they, can't or don't want to, take that next step on their own, right? So I think a lot of artists are developing their careers on their own. We have all the tools that we need to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think certain artists get to a certain level where they're just like, okay, you know what? This is kind of a real thing here. Do I have the expertise? Do I have the network? Do I have the patience and tolerance for creating an organization myself to take it to the next level? Or is there an opportunity to affiliate with a concern that maybe has been in this business of taking artists from where they are to where maybe they should be? Is that a good move for me? But really, a lot of the power, and influence lies in the artist. Because frankly, if a record label is interested in you, that tells you something. It tells you that you're onto something, and you should be, it should be a win-win situation. I think a lot of artists have a lot more.
So don't give away your power, basically.
Yeah, because if they're interested, then that means that there is a partnership to be established, as opposed to the way it used to be, where, if you want to reach people, you have to have a label because they're the only ones who are reaching people. This is before all the stuff that we can do now on our own to reach people. Right. And so we had to make deals that were not necessarily in, the artist's favor initially for a number of reasons. One being, what else are you going to do?
Right.
The other thing is that
do you want to be in the game or don't you want to be in
exactly, the game? And the other thing is that, labels, to their credit, they take a lot of entrepreneurial risk. And,
monetarily speaking.
Yeah. And so, and the failure rate of new artists is quite high. So
I resemble that remark. Oh, well, that's all right. Prince made up for it, though.
Yeah, he sure did.
That's all right. He made a few dollars for those guys.
Absolutely.
So the mere fact that you can do it by yourself doesn't mean that you should.
No, I think for every artist, I mean, there's no template, right? There's no rule book for every artist. Every artist is going to evolve along their own trajectory, and it makes sense for some. Doesn't make sense for others. I know people who are very successful in putting together teams of people. But yeah, what were we talking? So yeah, I think that, I know artists who have been really successful in, putting together a group of people who basically do all the things that record labels do. They find people who are willing to work with them in marketing and creative and distribution and strategy, and they're able to do it on their own because we have all the tools to do it. Other people are find it more advantageous to kind of align with an organization that's already been doing that they, kind of more of a turnkey type of thing, and they make a deal with a label, and hopefully it works out well.
Do you think young artists are savvy enough to know that giving up a certain percentage of your money is worth it? Because, 50% of nothing is nothing.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I think that's why it's, and I'm not trying to segue, but you're kind of setting it up. I think that's why education in the music industry is so critical, especially these days. So you have this amazing, tool set, right? Mm-hmm. We can communicate all over the world. We can distribute all over the world. We can monetize. We have storefronts. We have all the kind of things that we could never do before. Right. We can do it all. But with great privilege comes great responsibility, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I can't tell you how many people I have contacted me. And they're just like, hey, I got contacted by blah blah blah. They wanted this, and I read this content, and I'm just like, oh my god, don't burn this, burn it. Because a lot of people
get excited though when they get that contract.
Oh yeah, because they get the recognition. Like someone from the UK is interested in my track. They heard it on SoundCloud, and I think because we have so many people and we have so much capability, I think that the education in the music industry, what constitutes your work, what constitutes your content, how do you protect it, how do you find your value, how do you create your own communities, all of the things that, frankly, kind of, record labels did for artists in the past, traditionally, those who were, lucky enough to find their way into that infrastructure. Well, I think that, really understanding, what your opportunities are, how to protect yourself, how to capitalize an opportunity, how to be entrepreneurial, treat your career like it is a business. And all of the little idiosyncrasies of the music industry, and there are many of them. I think it's really critical for especially at this point, for people to understand those things so they can craft a career forward deliberately and strategically.
It must be an unbelievable advantage to have you at St. Thomas teaching the stuff that you're actually living as well. I mean, did you create this course at St. Thomas?
Well, no, the degree predates me. Okay. And I was brought on about 10 years ago to kind of grow the program because the people that started it really were very forward thinking, and they saw the writing on the wall. They saw how this industry was evolving, and they knew that there was demand for this kind of education and a need for it. So it's a whole BA. It's a kind of interdisciplinary degree. There's aspects of music, aspects of just business from the Opus College of Business at St. Thomas, and then we kind of bring it all together in a curriculum of music industry study, where we do everything from kind of understanding, what the industry is and all of its different sectors and all of their kind of interdependencies, but also really quickly move into experiential work, design thinking. Working with clients to try to understand how to address real business challenges in the music industry. So it's really, really fabulous. And to tell you the truth, the way I win really big is that my students teach me way more.
I remember that from when I was teaching. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because their questions are so insightful, and they're inspired and they're curious, and it's just like the more they ask, the hungrier they are.
And they're focused too.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're focused on doing what they need to do to succeed. They're hungry.
Yep. And the cool thing is that they're also like really kind of encouraged by. I mean, the creator economy is 100 billion strong and growing. Yeah. And I don't think we've even scratched the surface of the opportunity in music in this kind of broader creator economy. So. And they're seeing that, and they're finding some success, and they're finding audiences, and they're amazing people to be around.
I wasn't planning on having this all about business, but this is fascinating for me.
That could be about anything you want, man.
The music business has changed dramatically from when I started back in 1983.
You and me both, buddy.
But, so they've kind of hidden the money. It's not gone necessarily, but it's there's that book, and I can't remember the name of the author, but Who Hid My Cheese or something.
Oh,
to
yeah,
that effect,
right. Yeah.
So they've been hiding the money in different aspects. How do you, and whose responsibility do you think it is for these kids to learn to monetize their art? Do you think that there is a new platform coming out? Is there something around the corner? Is it NFTs? Is it streaming? Yeah. How do you monetize art, especially in the music business, in 2022?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. It's a complicated one. All the money.
Ready, go.
The money's still there. It's just in different places, right?
What's the game? What's the new game?
I think the new game, honestly, that if you really want to cut to the chase, get people to pay you directly. Market directly to your audience. We have so many different vehicles that enable us to do that.
Market what?
Market your music, market your content, market your personality, market your creative process, market your merch, market your, we've only, listen, formats like First Artist Share, which was like one of the very, very first crowdfunding platforms, that for musicians, and then Kickstarter, and then Indiegogo, and then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes, right.
What we learned from them was that there's way, way more money on the table than just a $15 CD back in the day, or $9, download from iTunes back in the day. Right. There's way more money because people are willing to pay for content. And then we see platforms like Patreon, where artists have been, many artists.
We love Patreon here. We love our patrons at Patreon here at Music on the Run.
There you go. So you're able to kind of create a value exchange with your audience, right? You give them great content. They give you their support. They give you their insights. They help you kind of even, develop, and curate the content that you do. You learn from them. You speak. And here's another thing. And I'm all over the freaking place.
It's good. It's good. We like this. This is perfect for when somebody's jogging or running around.
Right. So when we as musicians don't often take advantage of the resources that are right in front of our noses, right?
Such as?
Well, okay. Let's say you have let's say you have 1,000 people who are following you in some legitimate way, not just like a low stakes like or something, but like maybe it's 5, maybe it's 100. Let's make it 50.
Okay.
50 people who are, them, they're following you, you're exchanging content, and maybe they're supporting you with just promotion, maybe they're supporting you with money, whether, it being a Kickstarter or something like that. Well, we're in the business of designing experiences for people. That's what we do as artists, right? We take what we do, we take what inspires us, and we put it out into the world, and we hope to create a good experience, whether it's music to listen to passively, actively, or whether it's a live performance. Well, how about using those 50 people to inform what you do next? How about having some really, really deep and empathetic conversations with those fans to truly understand what is it about this relationship that makes this relationship important to you? What is it about what I do and what we do together that keeps you involved in this? Coming back, day after day, week after week, project
still
after
here?
project. Right.
Yeah.
And, because we often, don't really develop a deep enough empathy with our fans or our users or our customers.
Right.
And I think there's so much to learn by having more profound conversations to truly understand what is it that's going on here? How does this fulfill a need? And then how can I learn from the insights that I gain from talking to my audience to develop more content that is going to maybe expand the tent, so to speak, to find
grow
more
the
people,
business,
right?
yes, find more people.
Because Simon Sinek famously said in a TED Talk and subsequent books, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I think that and there's a very long tradition of human-centered design and design thinking that really is to start with empathy. Understand your audience. talk to them, learn, go beneath the surface, understand what's the deeper meaning for them about what you do or what you intend to do, et cetera. And we don't do that enough. And so one of the things that I think is really an opportunity is to have more conversations with our supporters, to truly understand what motivates them and to use that insight to continue to put content out there that is meaningful to people, you know.
So this is
whatever that is, you know, it's different for every artist, different for every artist and their community.
It could be Facebook, it could be Instagram, it could be TikTok. You're talking about an actual back and forth conversation. It doesn't have to be talking at them.
No,
it could be talking with them.
Yeah, it could,
or through Patreon or whatever your format is.
Hey, you know what? How about you know, do a little contest, you know, give away some merch and say, hey, you know what, the winners of this, you know, I don't know, maybe you want some input from them on something. You know?
Right.
Do a Zoom call.
Right.
Get 5-10 people on there, talk about, or, you know, even one-on-one, you know. Products and services companies do it all the time.
True.
Right? So why
they're much better at communicating with their customers than musicians are.
Right. So why don't we do that? Like, why are we so special that we can't do a focus group?
I think there's always been a disconnect between being an artist and being a businessman. Some people can do both. Mm-hmm. Some people cannot do both. It's necessary to be able to do both in the climate that we're in, don't you think?
Absolutely. I think it's critical. I don't, you know, unless...
How else are you going to survive?
There are still people who get signed to labels, you know, like there are still people who are like, holy crap, you're a triple threat, you're, you know, amazing singer, you're blah, 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 blah. Okay. Done
what
deal,
are the percentages of that, though?
Like the tenth of a tenth,
right?
For the rest of us, you know, we've got to, you know, make our markets, and we have to learn, you know. One of the things I do with my students is I try to get their nose out of the music business and look around at other industries to find inspiration. You know, we look at a lot of different companies to look at, like, you know, different marketing, like cultural marketing, storytelling, how to, you know, how to, you know, position an artist as, you know, in a cultural conversation. Not just kind of this, you know, unilateral, like, here's my music, give me applause. Here's my music, give me applause.
Yeah.
Here's
very
a post.
One-sided.
Give me a like. You know?
And that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
So you're asking them to look beyond that.
Yeah. The more we understand our audience, the more we're able to create more profound and informed experiences for them. I think the more followers we're going to get, the more successful we're going to be. And it's tough, but I think, you know, that's the one thing that stands the test of time with regard to change, right? So the music, you started out the conversation with the music industry has changed fundamentally since 1983, right? But you know what?
Yeah.
But the one thing that hasn't changed is that there's still artists and there's still audiences,
right?
And we're still trying to come together for each other's benefit. And so if we focus on empathy, if we focus on always trying to understand what do my fans want, and not you know, because a lot of people are going to be like, well, hey man, you're an artist, you can't just be like, hey man, you know, what do you want? Okay, I want you to do a country record. Well, I'm not a country artist,
right? But
I doubt they're not going to say that to you,
right? Within reason,
right? But within reason, of course. But it's just kind of like, I want, like, what, this relationship is important to me. I know why it's important to me. But why is it important to you? And what can we do together to design even better experiences that bring more people into this community that we're building?
So there is a vital music business happening, because a lot of the folks that I've interviewed are not as excited about the music business as you are, but you see these 20-somethings and you get that energy from them.
Absolutely, because I see them doing miraculous things.
Wow.
I have students and former students who are blowing my mind with their brilliance and their success they're finding, and just the belief that they have in themselves that, like, yeah, I could totally do this.
Right.
You know, no one is, you know, it's like no one's telling you no, so why wouldn't you?
So you're giving them little nuggets of information and kind of showing the ways of how different businesses work, how the music business used to work, how the future music business could work, cultural things in there. You're actually, what you're doing is you're inspiring them. to explore on their own.
Yeah, I mean, I have experience and I have a background in business as well. Right. So it's,
before you went and did your solo records, you were doing a lot of finance stuff, right?
Yeah. So, I found a way to really kind of put it together to help students kind of find their own path to try to inspire them to expand their field of view of what's possible for them. Because one of the toughest things to do with especially young artists or, potential entrepreneurs in creative enterprise is to break them of the habit of relying on assumptions that are no longer valid about themselves, right?
Or the industry, for that matter.
Right. Like, I remember, thinking to myself forever, it's like, I'm not a songwriter. I mean, I don't write songs. I can't write songs. I'm not like, I hear people writing original music. I'm like, I could never do that. Yeah. Until one day in my 30s, not kidding, it was like one of those make or break moments. It's like, do I want to be an artist or do I want to, be behind the artists, right?
Right.
And I wanted to be an artist, so I just decided one day that I was going to try and write music.
Wow. In your 30s?
Yeah. Well, maybe late 20s, early 30s. Yeah, and I very gingerly kind of let some of my friends hear it, and they told me the truth. They said, it's horrible.
But you gave yourself permission to do it, and then
I did it some more, and then I did it some more, and then I did it some more, and then I actually wrote a song that somebody liked, and then they recorded it on a record, and I was like, holy crap! I wrote a song, and then it's on a record now. And I would have never thought that about myself.
And you're giving these students the permission to excuse those old
exactly.
tapes.
It's just like all the things you think that you're not capable of, prove it.
Yeah.
Right? Because so much of what we believe about ourselves.
I'm going to write some of this down. Hold on. This is good for my. I'm not a lyricist. Just cross that out.
See there?
It's true. I mean, I know exactly what you're saying.
It's like, who told you?
I suffer from that myself. I told myself that. No one else told me that.
Exactly right. Or maybe some person who you held in a position of authority at some point in your life that is an irrelevant part of your life now, told you that or something, and it just stuck. And so.
You suck. You suck at writing lyrics.
Yeah, whatever. Or maybe your English teacher back when you were in second grade was like, "You're not a poet, Paul Peterson."
We're going to take a little break from the interview right now because I want to tell you about a couple of really cool things. First of all, we're having so much fun with our weekly 1-minute funk jams called Funk Friday. We've had so many world-class musicians on Funk Friday, including members of the Steve Miller Band, Fleetwood Mac, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Earth, Wind & Fire, just to name a few. You can check that out on all of our social media, but you can also see it on our YouTube channel. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of our members who have supported us on Patreon. Don't know what Patreon is? Go to www.patreon.com/Music on the Run podcast, and there you'll get all sorts of information on how you can financially help us produce this podcast. There are all kinds of incentives listed there on the website, and there are many different levels on how you can become involved. We could not put on this podcast without our patrons. All right, let's get back to the interview.
You're not a poet, Paul Peterson.
Yeah, right.
And that stuff sticks with you. So one of the biggest things that we do, and I teach a class really early on, is all about, we're going to unpack all of our assumptions and we're going to evaluate them for validity because you are who you are now and you are not who you were then.
Right.
And so first of all, we need to expand your whole scope of possibility. And then let's proceed from a more accurate perspective of what you're likely capable of versus
you're deprogramming.
Well, I know.
Sort of. No, you are though.
No, I'm just asking them to think critically. And not take things for granted.
What a freedom you're giving them though.
Well, at first it could be really kind of off-putting.
Oh yeah?
It's hard to think about yourself. I mean, I asked them to do this really cool project called What Would You Do If You Knew You Couldn't Fail? And I asked them to suspend all notion of failure.
Wow.
And I can't tell you how hard it is for people because, you know, I asked them, they come up with things, we do this whole workshop, and then kind of in the middle of it, I'm like, how many people at this point after sharing, because they share with one another
Right.
what their no-fail goal would be. I said, how many people are still hedging? How many people have not really written down what they really would do if they knew they couldn't fail? How many people had trouble suspending the notion of failure? And it's not all, but a significant number of people. So even when you're sitting by yourself alone, no one's watching, you get to do whatever you want, and still we hold ourselves back. So I think one of the biggest things that we can do for young artists and young entrepreneurs in the music and entertainment space is to help them first find their potential, and then give them the tools to really activate it.
No wonder you're a doctor. No, I mean, this is fast. We were gonna talk music this whole time, but I'm gonna shift it to playing, because
let's do that. I play music,
but all of that is so fascinating, and it's so important for my listeners to understand the importance of music education, because I've told them before, we've done fundraisers for the like Funk Friday 100, who you've been a part of the Funk Friday series, raising money for the Peterson Family Scholarship in Jazz Studies at the University of Minnesota. Is it valid? Is it important? Should we be spending our money on things like that? Well, you just got about a 25-minute soliloquy on why music education is important and how we should support our youth in whatever art form there is. So that's really, really cool. And it's been fun to do a couple of the some appearances in your classes.
Yeah.
Too. That's been really fun.
It's been
especially
really cool.
during COVID. It's like, hey, Paul, can you hop on a Zoom? I'm like, yep.
I know, right? You can commute to a guest speaking gig in a second.
That's
Whoop,
true.
there's Paul.
Yeah.
But it was really cool. They had some amazing questions for you. Your career is just, so fascinating, and they know you, and they're curious, and you have a lot to share. It was really one of the coolest kind of experiences they had that semester when you popped in.
That was fun. And then I've been working with some of your students. Some
That's
of them
right. Yeah.
Come on and been interns for me here at Music on the Run. Jake was one of them.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's gone on, and we're doing more stuff together, and he's a really talented guy, and he's doing some stuff for you coming up this weekend. Well, let's talk about the gig that we're doing.
Let's talk about the gig, man.
So you haven't played in a while. So what's up with that? Why aren't you playing? COVID is over. Didn't you hear COVID is over?
Yeah, right. Uh-huh.
COVID is not over.
No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Okay. Touring is, let's put it this way. Touring is back on.
Touring
and
is
you're
back.
not there.
I'm not there, no.
So
not yet.
why are we doing this gig? It's just, tell me what's going on with you.
Well, so my last show is February 13th, 2020.
Right before
I got home, and then the curtain dropped, right? Oof. And it's interesting. I've been on the road as you have for decades. Yeah. And I really, I'm locked in my house with my wife and my dogs.
Yeah. Did you like that? Did you?
I didn't want to leave.
Okay.
It was
because I experienced the same.
Oh my God!
Thing,
it was
like never had a break.
And you know what? We had a big kind of health scare with my wife a few years ago, and
right.
If that doesn't put you in the moment, nothing will. And so, even a couple of years before COVID, right?
Right.
And that was one of those situations where I was just like, you know what, man, you really gotta be in the moment. You got to think about what really feeds you.
Yeah.
And but we're on this merry-go-round. We're on this, we're doing what we do, and because why? Because we do it, right?
Right.
And we love it, and I love performing, and I love people, and but we got locked in together, and just realized just how amazing my life is at home, and how much I missed by being gone so much.
Right.
And so, it wasn't, and I made a record over COVID. I made a whole, it's not like I was not creative, right?
For sure.
And that was even more fascinating because I got to work with musicians I would never get to work with because they're always on the road. They're always gone,
Right.
And here they are all home. It's like, hey, man, could you, holy crap.
Yeah. Kind of like Funk Friday. I call people that they're my idols, and I'm like, can you play? And they're like, yes. I'm
right?
like, did he just say yes?
Well, I think it's a lot because they want to, of the respect they have for you.
They want to play they really want to play a 1 minute piece of.
They want to play a 1 minute piece of music that they have to videotape.
Yeah, we've had a few people who don't want to do the video portion, but we've worked it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you made a record over.
So I made a record, but I really, and it also is just like, all I'm hearing about is like, okay, the airlines are crazy.
Yep.
People are crazy on the airlines. Airlines are, the airfares are just ridiculously expensive. Mm-hmm. And, it's just like, man, maybe I'll just kind of, chill and work on some other things.
Yep.
And still, I've been doing a lot of classical playing. That's a whole other area of my world that I'm really kind of starting to focus back in. But I still love playing my music. I still like writing my music, and I will get back on the road. It's just, I wasn't one of the first ones just to, run back. Mm-hmm. I'm doing it in a very measured and very deliberate way, where I know that I'm going to be as excited as and inspired as I need to be in order to deliver a great great show, and where it feels good to do it. So it's not like I'm off the road. I'm just kind of like
not on the road,
extending my hiatus for a while.
Yeah, and I know people are calling you going, Steve, come on out. And you'll go out when
Absolutely.
you're ready.
I mean, we're already talking about some stuff, but I'm not going out for the sake of going out.
Yeah, that's a luxury, though. That's a luxury, I believe, because some people are like, I have to go out.
Right.
I have to go out.
But it's really interesting, and it's hard. It's hard because as musicians, we want to play. That's why we do it. We want to perform.
Right.
And
sometimes to our detriment.
Sometimes you say yes to a lot of things, and other times, there are people who convince you to say yes to things that you shouldn't say yes to because maybe it might not be in your interest to do it, but it certainly is in theirs for you to do it. And so they convince you of these things that you may not be true about, what you should be able to do and what you should be able to not do.
Yeah.
And so I think that, one of the things we talk about, and I talk about with young artists that I work with, is just, yes, there is a time in your life where there is a such thing as you don't get to say no to a gig.
Right.
Because, a lot of the magical things happen on gigs that you wouldn't have ordinarily done because maybe you're tired or maybe you had a date or maybe you had a thing to do. And you said yes.
Or someone was there that you had no idea was going to be there and it led to something else.
That's exactly. And it happened to me. It happened to me.
Tell the story.
Okay. So, your friend and mine, Richard Peterson, another phenomenal musician, great bass player.
Who's been very good to me. He let me sub with David Sanborn, let me sub with Boss Keg. So, hi, Richard.
Hi, Richard.
I love you, Richard. Anyway,
so I want to tell you this. So this really quick story. I was young. It was in the 90s, and
in Chicago.
In Chicago, it was in the mid 90s. I was just starting to kind of get on the scene a little bit, and I got a call from a singer, and she was playing a gig. It was on a Sunday night. It was late. I would have to drive for over an hour, and it was freezing rain.
Everything in your body says no.
I'm in my apartment. I got a pizza.
Yeah.
Right. It's warm.
Yeah. The pizza or the apartment?
Both, surprisingly enough.
Yes. Nice.
And I remember, someone, thankfully, in my life saying, you don't get to say no to a gig right now.
Right.
And so I said, yeah. And the money was, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Right.
Right. Especially if I would have spun out in the middle of the expressway.
True.
But I went and did the gig. And I'm getting set up, and I'm looking over, and I'm like, that looks familiar. Nah, no way, that's that guy. And it turns out Richard Peterson was on that gig. Why was he on that gig? Because the singer was a dear friend of his.
Right.
And when he's in town and she had a gig, they were friends forever, and he would always just play the gig, right?
Right.
And the musicians were phenomenal. It wasn't like some lame gig. It was phenomenal musicians. So after I got there, I was like, I'm really glad I took this gig, A, because these musicians are really good and this is a lot of fun. And two, I met Richard. And Richard was with the Miles Davis band at the time. And later on, when Miles had passed and he was back home, he asked me to play in a band that he was putting together. And all eyes were on Richard. I mean, he had just gotten back from Miles Davis, and he was about to go back out with David Sanborn. Mm-hmm. And him bringing me into his circle was huge for my career.
Right. And it would never have happened unless you went on the icy roads.
Yeah. If I would have said no, I mean, who knows? Maybe. But there is definitely a through line to the circle that I was kind of embraced by through Richard and the musicians in his circle, and a lot of the opportunities that I had that led me to a lot of the things I was able to do on my own later. So, yes, there is a certain point in your life where you just say yes, do the gig, shut up, learn, grow. If it's a disaster, good. Yeah. Learn from it. Figure out something. There's always something that you're going to learn from that gig. Mm-hmm. At a certain level, though, then you have to start to transition into saying, okay, I know why I'm doing this. I know the purpose for this. I know where this fits into the overall strategy of what I want to accomplish. And if things start to stagnate, it's time to reevaluate and really. And my dad was a musician. And
clarinet player, right?
Clarinet player and saxophone player, and had a band. And he was always commenting like there were certain band leaders who were like, they were always doing the bigger gigs, the more money. And and one day he's at the same whatever, like big hotel in Chicago, right? They're both doing weddings, right? In big elaborate things. And he's in one room, and there's this other guy in another room who makes way more gigs, way more money. And my dad's like, Frank, how do you do it? I mean, we're in the same hotel. We're doing the same thing. And Frank said to my dad, he said, you know what? Because sometimes I say no.
Right. How much power is in the word no?
And sometimes it's not because you necessarily have power. I mean, it's not like, everyone's independently wealthy and you can just say no because, I don't need. No, sometimes it's it's just knowing who you are, realistically understanding what your value is, and saying, you know what, I'm gonna maybe take a short-term sacrifice to build my value. And you have to back it up, right? You have to back it up with the goods. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I think that I'm worth more than that because X, Y, and Z. Right. Not only artistically, but also here are the metrics.
Right.
Here's the data.
Back it up with data.
And here's what I'm willing to do that maybe other artists aren't willing to do in terms of the business side, the marketing side, partnership, promoting, social media presence. Your overall marketing reach and what you're willing to do and how you've developed that over time. And there needs to be that differentiation. And I think some artists need to kick back and say, you know what, I'm worth this. And if not, I'm okay sitting out a couple of gigs.
Right.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's
where's that line between yes and no?
Exactly. Especially because then you bring back in, well, I want to play. And what if but we're so afraid, like if we say no to one gig, we'll never get another one.
What is that?
I don't know. And some of it are other people who are, honestly, sometimes the people that represent us are the ones who want us to think that way. Right? Because
you're not going to get asked back, Steve.
Right. Or because there's all kinds of, and I think that one of the things that creatives need to understand is like everyone has a business model. And it's like a Venn diagram. We have intersections, where our ends are congruent. But then there's also this space where like, your game and my game don't really meet up. So let's focus on this, right? But we also have to know that there's this out there. Right. So if someone's telling you, hey, you're only worth that, I can book you as this, you should do it because, if you don't, then someone, and that, and you have really, good reason to believe that, like, I don't think that's okay. Then it should be known that it's not okay.
Yeah, speak up for yourself.
Because, it's like the low-hanging fruit. People want to do volume, developing artists is difficult.
Right.
And I think that, a lot of times artists just kind of believe what they're told, and they don't have all the facts, and they're not taking, into account some of the things that are more valuable that they bring to the table that could, be brought to bear. Again, it's not an invitation for all artists to be like, no, I'm not going to do that again. Sometimes it's simple math.
I wonder if that just comes with age and a little salt and pepper, knowing your value. Mm-hmm. I think that could be part of it, and learning to know when to call BS.
Right, but also knowing when to be humble, and knowing when the numbers are just. Listen, if you're going to play a club, if you want to play a club with 75 seats.
It's going to be $5.
$5
a man.
Okay. So if you want to make $7,500, you have to charge over $100 a seat.
That's right.
Okay. Are you at that point?
Right.
So don't walk into a 75 seater and think, hey, where's my money?
Right.
Because it's just the math. Right. Now, should you be playing a 75 seater? Maybe. Because there's no right answer.
Right.
It's just everyone's individual experience, looking at it both from a micro perspective of what's going on right now and a macro perspective. What am I trying to achieve? How are these different things that I'm doing articulated in such a way as to lead to a career progression that's deliberate, that's actionable, that's that's what you want. So.
Let's take it back to Chicago real quick.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you grew up in a musical family.
I did.
Right? Mm-hmm. What brought you, we're skipping a lot here, like your whole childhood.
It's okay.
What brought you to Minneapolis?
I'd have to, if I wanted to talk about my childhood, I have to start paying you like $250 an hour.
It's actually $300, but who's counting?
Oh, yeah. That's right.
What brought you to Minnie? Why are you in Minneapolis?
My wife brought me to Minneapolis.
Is that right?
Yeah. I chased her here.
No kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How many years ago did you move here?
12 years ago.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And here you are. Where were you before St. Thomas? Did you teach at another college in
Columbia College in Chicago.
I
was doing much the same thing. I was teaching music industry at Columbia College. And and then circumstances as they were. Met a girl.
It's a love story.
And she lives here, and I was like, okay, I guess
Was that a hard move for you?
It was really hard.
Not for the girl, obviously.
I left Chicago kicking and screaming.
Did you?
Just because I loved it. I was such a Chicago guy. I was just like, it was my home. It's where everything was. But you know what, man? It took a minute. Minnesota's not the easiest place to onboard for a new entrant, but I wouldn't live anywhere else now, except for maybe Nice. I probably would live in Nice. Yeah,
Nice is Nice.
It is. Yeah, and I like their salads very much.
Dr. Mister.
But yeah, I love it here. I absolutely love it here. I think it's one of the most amazing cultural and musical and educational and whatever places around. Except for that, couple of days in February, which sucked pretty bad. But,
it's no colder than Chicago, though.
No, it's not. As a matter of fact, my mom still lives in Chicago, and oftentimes it's like, "What's the temperature?" And she's like, "I'm like, it's colder there."
No, it is. What's the most pivotal moment in your career thus far? Do you feel?
Wow. That's a really good question.
And it's a really hard question.
It's tough.
It's super
it's
unfair.
Tough.
I should have sent this in the mail.
No,
Davide, that's your fault. I'm throwing you.
I think I can answer it. I think that everyone's career has a couple of moments that are absolutely pivotal. I think one of them was meeting Richard and getting a big leg up.
Yeah.
That set me on a trajectory, definitely. I think working with Brian Culbertson early on and being introduced through his music and then our music to Atlantic Records, that was pivotal in changing the game for me and giving me an opportunity after many years of trying to find a relationship with a record label, which at the time in 1998 was kind of the thing to do.
Of course.
But if I was to say really what changed my whole outlook on music is when I started teaching teaching students about the industry and about music, because through their eyes, I see a whole different industry and a whole different set of opportunities. And also, they keep me on my game all the time. So I'm much more observant. I have a much more purposeful kind of practice about what I do and how I do it, because I know I have such a responsibility to bring relevant and rigorous content and wisdom and mentorship and opportunity to my students. So I look at music.
They're counting on you.
Yeah. And also I'm counting on them because they give that energy right back to me. And I look at my music differently. I think about music differently. It's just, so it just in terms of my career, and my creativity, I think, that's really one of the most pivotal, is when I kind of took myself. I guess what it boils down to is this: when you teach, you're selfless because you're giving. It's a service.
Yep.
It's a servant leadership, right?
Right.
And I think when I stopped thinking so much about myself and started taking myself out of the spotlight and focusing on others, I actually grew much more.
Wow.
Creatively, my confidence, my sense of purpose. So yeah,
I think that helps
getting
playing
the heck
too?
over myself. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Incredible. Tell us about the gig that's coming up here. Your first show in
my first show in 2.5
years.
years, and thankfully, I've been diligently practicing for the
Sound freaking
last
great,
several
man.
years, but it's kind of like the difference between running on a treadmill and then hitting the road, right?
A little bit different.
A little bit different.
It's a little bit different.
But I'm thrilled because the band that you put together and that you're intimately involved in, is just literally some of the best musicians I've ever heard.
They're great, aren't they?
Right?
They're such great people.
It's and a full horn section.
Yes.
So the music is going to actually be played the way it was written, with all those beautiful parts that David Mann, arranged for all this music.
By the way,
for so
shout
many
out
years.
to David Mann. What an incredible guy.
Isn't it just wonderful playing those arrangements and hearing those lines and stuff?
They're so good.
So it's music from my new album, and I think we're basically kind of touching in some way every one of my solo releases. I don't think there's one. Well, maybe I don't think we're playing any music from Spin, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We'll do it next time.
Okay.
But it's 2 nights, 1 show a night, so it's a nice hefty show, powerful, and it's a super band. It is literally a super band.
Bunch of people from Minneapolis. It's been so much fun. We rehearse at the Peterson family basement too.
And I got to sign the wall.
You got to sign the wall.
I feel after like 10 years in Minneapolis, I'm now somebody.
Yeah.
I signed Paul's wall.
In the pump room behind the closed door.
In the pump room, yes. Not the pump room in Chicago that used to be a thing. It's literally the room with the pump in it.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
That's right. What are you doing next after this? What are your plans?
My plans are hopefully to start a new album soon, because I'm really kind of inspired to make some new music.
Great.
I'm also kind of pursuing some other teaching opportunities, just kind of around the world.
Nice.
Just little
Niche?
opportunities to
Niche?
maybe, I hope so.
Come on.
And performance opportunities, both in my music, but also in classical music.
Yeah.
So I'm really kind of falling back in love with the saxophone as both, a jazz and kind of contemporary and pop and soul, instrument, but also as a classical instrument, which is where I started. I started in studying music for classical saxophone with Fred Hemke and in Chicago.
Full circle.
Yeah.
Full circle. So how do we find you? SteveCole.com?
Yes, it's actually not stevecole.com. SteveCole.com is a wonderful photographer. And it's one of those things.
Wrong again.
Yeah,
but that's okay.
But he over the years he's been very good at forwarding email. It's stevecole.net.
Okay.
And then Steve Cole Sax is, I think that's my Instagram.
Okay.
And on Facebook and,
All that
Twitter
stuff.
and all that stuff.
Man, what a pleasure to,
Oh my
first
God,
of all,
what a-
be in your band.
I'm in your band.
No, I'm in your band. I've had so much fun listening to this great music. You play your butt off.
Thank you,
You
man.
are, you're a great educator, and it's been fun to witness that portion of it too. And everything you said about that is so important. And I'm so glad that our listenership got a chance to hear what is in store for the next generation of producers, businessmen, and all that stuff. So kudos to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the
No,
show.
thanks for having me. It's an honor.
Episode 58 in the books. We'll see you next time on Music on the Run. Music on the Run was hosted by yours truly, St. Paul Peterson. Edited and produced by my buddy Davide Raso. Video editing by Emily Turner. And a very special thanks to the people who financially support this podcast. And remember, the future of the music business is in great hands.